The first week of 2022 Formula 1 testing has come to an end, and now drivers and engineers have a week to file through the recorded data before heading off to Bahrain for the second test. The test starts on the 10th of March, just over a week before the opening race of the season. In the meantime, let's look at the Barcelona test and see who did well. All eyes in camera lenses will focus on the pit lane as soon as the garage is open. The test officially noted the shakedown was always going to be more about reliability and mileage rather than performance and pace. Facts such as unknown fuel loads, engine modes and setups mean we have to step through the analysis of caution at this stage. Ultimately, we will get a vague idea of the pecking order in Q3 qualifying for the Bahrain GP, let alone from the first few days of testing. But there still is useful information. Mileage is the most important factor for all teams. Alfa Romeo and Haas were really disappointed in this front, especially Valtteri Bottas. Alfa Romeo's reserve driver Robert Kubica competed in the first morning session, only managed 2 laps. The Italian team didn't recover from what was less than 150 laps recorded over the first 2 days. A major loss stays for Alfa Romeo, and on Friday morning Alpine had a fire, and therefore Fernando Alonso had to stop on track. The French team were unable to fix the car, and therefore only got 12 laps on Friday. Haas also had various issues with mileage, with various leaks keeping the Haas car in the garage for significant periods. The problems experienced by these 3 teams have put them on the back foot. The lack of testing means they haven't really had the chance to complete scheduled runs. Reliability hasn't been tested in all areas, and the performance of different parts hasn't been tested to its full capability. Setup work in correlation and simulator is also being missed. In comparison, Ferrari topped the mileage counts, with Mercedes, Red Bull and Williams also looking very strong in the top 5. Porpoising is a new buzzword for 2022 testing. Remember, like it does in 2020, kind of soon, but yeah, totally different stuff. Porpoising has done exactly that in 2022, and it's when the cars balance up and down slightly as they drive along at high speed. With ground effects in 2022, the airflow underneath the car is important because it gives the downforce. As the speed increases, the car gets stuck to the ground. At certain points, the ride height becomes too shallow and the airflow is disrupted. When this happens, the car will bounce up and the process is repeated. Porpoising reduces the level of performance, and teams will have to try and fix this in the coming weeks. Some fixes will not be helpful to the overall downforce, so striking a balance is important. It seems to be causing all teams problems, but it's affected by some more than others. As always with F1, secrets are not shared. Drivers and teams don't want information, good or bad, being exchanged, so it's hard to work out who is struggling more than others. It seems as if Alpine has struggled with it. During day 2, Esteban Ocon didn't use DRS, which could be a sign of the team testing it. Mercedes and Williams also seem to have issues with it, and the footage emerged as Charles Leclerc's Ferrari bouncing around on F1's Twitter. The only thing that's clear is the fact it's become more of a factor than first thought. When the rule and regulations were first drawn up, it was expected that cars would be around 4 or 5 seconds slower than the previous generation of F1 car. What we've learned in testing is that this is not true. The cars might be heavier, but they're actually much quicker than predicted. It's hard to compare these lap times because there's not anything meaningful, but the last time F1 tested in Barcelona in 2020, when the layout of the circuit was yet to be altered, the 2021 Spanish GP used the layout, but it's not useful to compare them with qualifying or the race because of course they're going to be nowhere near that. The best session to compare the times is to 2021 first free practice, and even so this should be taken with a pinch of salt because track conditions are colder in February compared to May. The circuit probably had more grip for that time, and tyre options also vary. The fastest time in FP1 was recorded by Valtteri Bottas in Mercedes, and he posted a 1:18.5 in that session. The tyres were available were the C1, C2 and C3, the hardest ones. On Friday morning, George set a 1:19.2 on Pirelli's softest C5 tyres, and Hamilton at a 1:19.1. Even though Russell was on a faster tyre, he only set a 7 tenths down on Bottas and Hamilton 6 tenths. Given the temperatures were cooler and the drivers probably weren't pushing as hard, we can expect a very similar lap times in 2021, if not quicker. The slowest time in FP1 was Nikita Mazepin in the Haas on a 1:21.9. Mazepin managed to beat that time on day 2 of testing. The field spread in 2021 was 2.7 seconds. In testing day 2, the field spread was down to 2.5 seconds, presuming Lewis Hamilton's time was an anomaly. It's very early days, and the usual caveats of testing apply, but there seems to be indications that the field hasn't spread open. If there was a dominant team hiding their pace, that gap could easily open. However, One of the major reasons for F1 to introduce these measures was to give drivers more chance of overtaking. To test this, drivers have been tight and behind other cars over the last 3 days in Barcelona. From the quotes, drivers seem to suggest there is less dirty air when tucked in behind the car in front. However, as soon as they move on over to make the overtake, they still feel some dirty air. It's way too early to draw conclusions on this, but it seems like small improvements have been made, and whilst ensuring drivers still have a tough task. And finally, what conclusions can we draw? It's easy to say McLaren and Ferrari have looked good because they've both been stuck at the top of the timesheet for the majority of the test, but the fact is, they have looked good and completed a lot of mileage. It seems like the two teams could get themselves back into hunt. Red Bull created shockwaves when Max Verstappen rolled at the garage on the first morning. Their cars fitted with almost every other team's party track, and if they're compilation to the best pieces. If there's any doubts over whether or not Red Bull put too much focus on 2021, those have now been pretty much removed. Mercedes are pretty much Mercedes when it comes to recent tests. They've gone about their business quietly, nothing majorly impressive until the final runs for both cars. At the end of the test, Hamilton set the fastest time of the race. The car actually looks the most similar to their old car. It's really possible that they could do what they've done before, roll out a whole new version of W13 in the second week of testing. If you had to place a team at the bottom of the poll from this week, you'd have to pick Alfa Romeo. However, the lack of mileage is worrying for both Bottas and Zhou. Haas, despite having experienced issues of their own, have improved, and Williams seem to be much closer to the midfield, which is obviously great for them. But anyway guys, that's the video. Thanks very much for watching. Remember to like, share, subscribe, give me your thoughts, comments down below. Follow on to the link description below for daily F1 news, and subscribe to my channel on the screen right now. It'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace.